Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming to this signing of the Memorandum of Understanding between the Australia-Israel Chamber of Commerce and the Australia-United Arab Emirates Business Council. I should recognise the Assistant Minister for Trade, Andrew G, who is going to formally launch, I guess, this MOU between these two groups, the Chairman of the Parliamentary Friendship Group, Kevin Andrews, a number of MPs, including my successor, James Stevens in Sturt, Leon Kempler, the Chairman of the Australia-Israel Chamber of Commerce, and a very old and dear friend of mine, His Excellency the Ambassador, Abdulla Subousi, and the Chargé d'Affaires of the Australian Embassy, Jonathan Peled. And I think that's probably, I could start going through what else, but I'm going to stop doing that. Otherwise, that'll be my 3 minutes. Thank you all very much for coming. Tonight is important because since the Abraham Accords between Israel and a number of other Arab nations, including the UAE, there has been an opportunity to focus on business and trade between Israel and, in this case, the UAE, also Sudan and Jordan and other countries, but Bahrain and Morocco, where the other Abraham Accords have been signed. And we felt in the UAE Council that, as I'm also been 11 years parliamentary chairman of the friendship group here and been to Israel 12 times and having a relationship with them and know Leon very well and members across the Jewish community and now chairing the Australia-UAE Business Council, that it was an opportunity to, in our own way here in Australia, contribute to that forum of relations between the UAE and Israel by establishing a MOU between the Chamber and the Council in a meaningful way, and we did it in record time. It's quite amazing when you think that we only considered it starting this late last year to have brought it about as quickly as we have. This is the beauty of the agility of not being from the government and not having the bureaucracy, but instead being able to do it ourselves, that we've been able to bring this about quickly. And the other part we wanted to have is an MOU, because we've all signed many MOUs, and I was the Minister for Education, and I've signed every MOU under the sun, and many of them don't necessarily mean very much. We wanted there to be some ballast or some toughness, as the Israelis would say, around the MOU. So we have, as part of it, established an internship for people studying it in Israel or in Australia or the UAE to focus on a subject which can link the three countries, like alternative energies and renewables is a good example, or the digital economy, and do a 14 to 16 week internship, produce a body of work, and then that would become part of the work of the UAE and the AICC to then try and promote trade, commerce between the three economies of Israel, the UAE and Australia. So it's very much a nascent idea. Tonight is the launch of it. I'm delighted to have the Assistant Minister for Trade to be part of that launch and the ambassadors. We shouldn't undersell the importance of the moment. It is an unusual step for Israelis, Emiratis and Australians to come together in the way that we have. But the Council has been very active in the last 12 months, and it's great to have members of the Council here tonight and members of the AICC and people that have been associated with it for a long time, like Graham Durad from Questacon, to mark the occasion and then to hopefully see it grow and develop into a constructive part of the relationship. So my job is to hand over to Leon, and Leon is going to hand over to Andrew, and then we'll share a drink and toast the creation of the MOU. Leon, please join us. Applaud Leon, of course.
I'm terrified following your speech, and I caution that everything I was going to say, what I've written down here, you've already said. But I would do a big by acknowledging the traditional rights of the land. So Yuma Dawa, Nuna Dawa, Nunua. I recognise also the Honourable Andrew G, His Excellency Abdulla Subousi, Chargé d'Affaires, Jonathan Peled, of course, my good friend Christopher Pyne. And just to correct you, Christopher, even when you were a minister, you got things done straight away because nothing got in the way of Christopher Pyne. I want to welcome all the members of Parliament and distinguished friends, and of course my co-director from the Chamber, Beverly Honig, who's come out to join us today. And I agree, the Abraham Accords have created a new narrative, a new way forward. I'm a grandfather. I think about my grandchildren, that they can live in a world where the narratives of the last 100 years can be altered through trust, through collaboration, through learning together. The idea of an internship is absolutely the right direction of starting to build those relationships. Because when you look at governments, we can take it to a certain level, but it's about the trust and goodwill between people that make things happen. So I was also thinking about energy, medicine, clean tech and transportation, agriculture, food security, major infrastructure projects, including pipelines of the future. I think a lot about the goodwill that exists today in this room, and this is historic, it is important, and I want to thank everyone for coming, because this is a testimony to people of goodwill coming together to create a new narrative for our children, for the next generation. I think coming to Australia, it's a dynamic, very inclusive society. It's a society which is very strong in the research sector, and I was talking to Professor Graham Durand before that, you know, Questacon will do everything it can do to build bridges of curiosity, imagination, and you, as Graham would say, hear and forget, you see, you remember, you do, you understand, and we're going to start to collaborate and change the narratives dramatically. The Australian-Israel Chamber of Commerce is honoured, delighted at this initiative. We are totally committed. I look forward to visiting the Emiratis with Christopher, because I know he's the right person to show me around. We will do things and we'll change the world. I want to bless you all for coming. I thank you. It's my great honour to invite the Minister G to come along and formally follow through with the proceedings. Thank you so much.
That very kind introduction, and also to Christopher. Christopher, where have you gone?
Yeah,
We've missed you. As many of you would know, it's been a fairly tumultuous couple of days here in the Federal Parliament, and that's just part and parcel of politics. But when I think of difficult days in Parliament, you only need to look at Christopher Pyne and the example that he sets on how to get through it, because the thing that I admired about Christopher, one of the things I admired about Christopher, was that he always carried himself with good humour and good grace, which is something of a rarity in politics. So we do miss you, Christopher, and I'm delighted that you're back here today. To all of our distinguished guests, welcome. I won't name you all because you're all distinguished, but also to my parliamentary colleagues who are here this evening, thank you for joining us. It is a landmark occasion between our three countries, and a lot of work has gone into this. So I particularly want to acknowledge Christopher, the work of the Council that you have put into this in driving it, and also Leon, the Chamber of Commerce, for the role that you and your whole organisation has played. It is a big thing to bring our countries together, and I know it's not always easy, but through the work of the Council and the Chamber, I think that you have demonstrated that it is possible for people of goodwill to do that, as you stated, Leon. And I think that is something to celebrate, and I think we should be grateful for it. And if other people of goodwill in other countries did what you are doing and did what we are doing, the world would be a much better place. It would be a much safer place and a more prosperous place as well, I have to say. The Middle East is definitely a priority for the Australian government, and as the Minister assisting the Minister for Trade, it's certainly one of the priority areas for me, and there's great opportunity there. Last year, for example, our red meat exports to the Gulf states hit about $870 million, and it's set to grow. Our two-way trade with Israel, just over $1 billion. And as folks in Israel know, we're having a serious look at the free trade agreement possibilities. And it would be wonderful if we could get that underway. Feasibility study underway at the moment, obviously, and we're looking very closely at that. The UAE is our largest trading partner in the Middle East. just over $5 billion. I think it's about $5.3 billion in two-way trade, about $12 billion in investment. And again, that is set to grow. So there are enormous possibilities. And it's not just the trade in dollars, it's also the people-to-people relations which can be built through MOUs like this and bringing our countries together. And I think there are great opportunities, not only for trade ties, but for more cultural ties and more sporting ties. So having said all of that, I just wanted to reiterate and underscore the importance of this MOU. I know a lot of work has gone into it, and I want to thank you, both of the organisations and both of your governments for your work. And as I said, I think there are some tremendous opportunities for all three of our nations moving forward to develop and strengthen those ties for the benefit of our countries, but also for the benefit of the wider world, which is, I think, really important. So congratulations, and it's with great pleasure that I'm going to do it, Christopher. I officially launch the Memorandum of Understanding. Congratulations, and thanks for having me.
So we need Leon and I to come up the front and sign, and then Andrew, Abdulla, and Jonathan are going to witness. That right, it's right, isn't it?
No, Brian. We'll be a witness.
Nice and dark.
Behind you.
You're going to sign as well. True. Oh, man, you've got us a football. That's great. That's good. Here's mine signed. Two signed anyway. Now, who's behind? Do you want to go next, Andrew? You need my pen as long as you get that.
Thank you.
Swiss ambassador. Sign full.
I just want to emphasize how historic this is. It's important because we're both coming to bring peace, prosperity, and goodwill to the people.
I'm just glad that I know it.
If I said I was from Sydney, you didn't step back. For the first time in 18 months.
Yep.
We'll come behind you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going.
So.